Next, how can generative AI enable 1 billion entrepreneurs? Professor Rem Koning will share some really cutting-edge research from the D-Cubed Tech for All lab, exploring how generative AI will break down barriers that hold businesses back, empowering what will be one-person billion-dollar companies over the coming decade, where the next wave of unicorns won't be the tech giants concentrated in Silicon Valley, but tiny AI-driven firms rewriting the rules of business from across the globe, be they in Dubai, Jakarta, or my home city of Nairobi. Please give Rem a warm welcome.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Zane. Really excited to have 10 minutes to share with you a talk about AI for all. But if I was going to talk about AI for all and how it's going to revolutionize education and medicine, how it's going to revolutionize your organizations, we'd need 4 or 5 hours together. So I'm going to focus down today on entrepreneurs. I probably need an hour. I'm going to try to talk fast enough to get this in 10 minutes and share with you some ideas about why I think AI is really going to transform the nature of entrepreneurship, right? And to sort of motivate things, let me give you a fact to start. There are 600 million entrepreneurs across the globe. 600 million entrepreneurs. Here are some of them, right? And you've got entrepreneurs like many of you, I think, in this room who maybe have gone to HBS and started amazing companies that have gone public. You see up here Anthony Tan, who I'm working with from Grab. He started Grab in Southeast Asia. It's like the Kareem or the Talabat of Southeast Asia, right? Hugely successful. We've got entrepreneurs here like Greg Roxon, who started M Pharma, that's radically changing access to medicine on the continent of Africa. You have other entrepreneurs who may be running a small business, maybe running one of the pharmacies that Greg serves, or this woman here who's selling coconuts in Indonesia, or actually this woman here who I know very well. She's actually my mom. She started an architecture firm 30, 40 years ago, right? Employs 20 people, right? We know these sorts of small businesses and big tech companies. That's what drives both innovation, it's what drives jobs, it's what drives economic dynamism. The problem is, right, though we have 600 million entrepreneurs, which is fantastic, I think we need more. If we look at this figure, we know that there's gaps. We know that there's hundreds of millions of entrepreneurs that can't start or grow, right? There's entrepreneurs who just can't get funding, right? And maybe that's real, maybe they just like complaining that they couldn't get funding. But we know from research that there's lots of frictions, lots of challenges that they face. They can't find the talent. I've been talking to a lot of people in the region over the last couple days, and a big thing that comes up is we can't find the technical talent so that someone with a great idea can really build a company. You have people who can't get a mentor or advice, right? One of the things that's just so amazing about being at Harvard Business School is we have so many successful entrepreneurs who can help our students. Unfortunately, if you're in the outskirts of Nairobi, you don't have access to that network that we have at Harvard Business School, right? So how do we democratize, right, access to talent, access to advice, access to funding? And what we're doing at Harvard Business School is understanding whether AI can do that democratization. Can AI, generative AI, advise, assist, help 1 billion entrepreneurs? This is what we're doing in the Tech for All lab that I run at the D-Cubed Institute, one of the 12 labs at the Institute. And I'm going to deep dive into one study today and show you how we're already advising hundreds of entrepreneurs. And I'll tee up a little bit of what we're doing in terms of hundreds of thousands of entrepreneurs right now with Grab in Southeast Asia. So here's what we did. Back after ChatGPT was launched in November of 2022, it's early 2023, and we start looking at this tool, and I start saying, wow, it's exciting what this thing can do. If you ask it business questions, it responds really well. Maybe thinking about those entrepreneurs in the outskirts of Nairobi, we could build a business advisor over ChatGPT that could help them in the ways that Harvard Business School alums help our students. So we developed an advisor for Kenyan small and medium businesses in 2023. As you all well know, and this is more important when I present in the United States, we did over WhatsApp, because everybody in the world uses WhatsApp, right? And so there was a WhatsApp number you could sort of message into, and on the back end was GPT-4. And here's the prompt we used. It took us 4 months to develop this prompt. So when we talk about prompt engineering and you're developing prompts for your org, and they're maybe not working, and you're like, oh, this AI stuff is hype, I'd spend another month. I'd then spend another month and really dig into user testing. And so we developed this prompt that helps, basically makes the AI an expert business mentor for guiding these Kenyan entrepreneurs. We then rolled it out to hundreds of Kenyan entrepreneurs, and then we have hundreds of entrepreneurs who we randomly selected to serve as a control. So just like in medicine, we can look at what the effect of this tool is in terms of helping these entrepreneurs grow their businesses. What I want to do is show you some of the questions and some of the answers. I think one of the things that's so exciting about generative AI is that we can show you, we don't have to tell you what these tools look like. So here are 3 questions that were asked by actual entrepreneurs in our study. The first person says, can you calculate for me an estimate budget for 4 Friesian dairy cows in half piece of land and possible risks that I might encounter? Anyone in the room game to do this? You can't use your phone and ask ChatGPT? No, okay, good. And I know I've got many folks connected to HBS, right? You don't want that cold call at all. It's a hard one. I can't answer that, right? That requires a bunch of knowledge about cows and about Kenya that I don't have. The next one, I have a fast food joint that I run adjacent to a matatu, a bus terminus. There are several such food joints at that particular place, and it's fair to say competition is stiff. How can I overcome the competitive business environment and be ahead of the rest of the pack? Wonderful question. This is a question we put on like a final exam in strategy at Harvard Business School. Right, I love it. I love it so much. And then finally, a little hard to maybe see for some of you in the front. Hello, I am a small business owner. I wash cars and motorbikes. I do this alone, but I find it tiresome. I wanted to employ 2 people to help, but I fear maybe I might start experiencing losses. How can I monitor my staff and make sure that I get maximum profit from the business? Anyone who has employees, I think, can resonate with this sort of question. And what we find is that the AI does a shockingly good job at answering these questions, right? And it does it at a fraction of the cost it would take for one of these entrepreneurs to get advice from HBS, right? So for the first question on the cows, right, it does an excellent job outlining both the cost of the cows, the feeding costs, the veterinary care, the land and maintenance. These prices actually, at the time we did the experiment, were about 10% too high. We went and talked to a bunch of farmers in Kenya, right? You could imagine improving these by feeding in more data, but the fact that just with a simple prompt we could get something that was ballpark right blew my mind. In terms of risks, disease outbreaks, feed price fluctuations, market price variability, weather conditions, climate change impacts, as a starting point for thinking about whether you should build this business, I can't think of a much better checklist. Similarly, for the question around the fast food joints in the Matatu terminus where he's facing stiff competition, we can sort of look at the AI responses. And the bad news for my students is that it gets a 90th percentile score. If you're familiar with grading at Harvard Business School, you get a 1. If you're sort of the top of the class, it would get a 1. Right? It starts with the classic advice, differentiate your menu. Right? Do something different than the competition. Right? It says maybe try traditional Kenyan foods or maybe use locally sourced ingredients. Just try something different. And then it gives other ideas too that might help you differentiate yourself from the competition. You could improve your customer service. You could introduce a loyalty program. You could think about community involvement. What are other ways to make your business unique or make customers sticky to you? And what's exciting is I'm only showing you the answer to the first question. We have to remember these are conversations. So the entrepreneurs in our study, they'll ask 10, 20, 30 follow-up questions. They actually wished their ChatGPT mentors Happy New Year, right, from 2023 to 2024, because they loved working with them. They formed relationships with them like they would a real mentor. And so they'd go deeper. Maybe this person wanted to learn about loyalty programs. The AI would then go deeper and talk about different sorts of loyalty programs, moving from the strategic to the tactical, saying, here's how you'd actually implement a loyalty program. Here are the concrete steps to do this, right? In the interest of time, I'm going to skip over the small business owner one. But again, provides pretty good advice. It says implement a performance measurement system, maybe try training or incentivizing. It's not perfect. It says create a clear job description. I don't think these entrepreneurs who's running a car wash in Kenya is like posting a formal job description. So there are room for improvement. But AI is only getting better. Prompting is only getting better. Our ability to incorporate data into these systems is only getting better. So now the question is, what was the impact on entrepreneurial performance? And this is why it's so important to experiment with AI in your organizations. We find AI advice helps some of the entrepreneurs make substantially more money. Entrepreneurs who are already doing well, they increase their profits and revenues by 15% when they engage with this AI tool. Unfortunately, entrepreneurs who are already struggling actually did worse when they used the AI. Their profits and revenues went down about 8%. And when we analyze the chat logs, what we see is that the better entrepreneurs were really using the AI to find things that would help them with their unique business needs and help them differentiate. In contrast, entrepreneurs who were doing poorly struggled to pick out the good advice and tended to pick generic things, like dropping prices. Right? And if your business is doing poorly and nobody likes your product and you make it a little bit cheaper, it might not increase demand. It just helps you make 5% less because you dropped your prices 5%. Right? And I think this is really important because what it suggests is, like a human mentor, the AI require context. The entrepreneurs who were already doing well, they were able to tailor the AI to their business needs. Those who were struggling really couldn't get the AI to understand the context and needs of their business. So building on these results, we're actually scaling up a contextual AI assistant to millions and millions of small businesses across Southeast Asia with Grab right now. And sort of working with the Grab team, we can take all their platform data, like the data that Kareem or Talabat has, and we can use it and put it in the AI so that the AI knows more about the business, so it can recommend things that are differentiated for all business owners, right? Both the high performers and the low performers. And I just want to mention, we're already at a couple 100,000 who are using this tool. It's been 2 years since ChatGPT launched. I fully expect we'll be at 1 million entrepreneurs who are benefiting from AI assistance in the next 6 months. Right? And beyond just assistance and advice, we can think about AI becoming a teammate. Here, this is from a Replit agent. You can go online and ask an AI to build you a website. It'll develop a checklist, and like a good team of engineers, just pop up a website for you. You can start thinking about AI deploying capital to help entrepreneurs. Stripe recently let you embed your bank account information into an AI agent. Right? I just say buyer beware. I don't know if you want to do that quite yet. But I think are really interesting to think about how we might democratize access to capital across the world. So with that, let me end on this. There's hundreds of millions who can't start or grow. These tiles here, they can't get helpful advice. They couldn't do it on their own. They don't know what to sell next. They couldn't find the talent or an engineer they needed. I am thrilled, right, to dig in over the next couple years and see how AI turns all those challenges around. Suddenly, firms can differentiate. Suddenly, you can get an AI engineer. Suddenly, you can get helpful advice from an AI agent, and maybe you can't do it alone, but with an AI, you could build a new business that couldn't exist otherwise. And with that, thank you so much for your time. I'm going to hand it off to the next speaker.